In my last video, I showed you the Talent Cell battery backup that I'm now using for my Vortec MP40s instead of the Ecotech battery backup. But the Talent Cell is not just for Vortec powerheads, so today I'll show you the battery backup setup that I've had on my 12-gallon Nano tank for the last couple of months. And of course, this is not a sponsored video, and I bought all of this equipment myself. So the battery backup I'm using for this tank is the same Talent Cell lithium ion unit. It costs £70 in the UK and it's relatively compact but also very long lasting. It's a 12 volt battery, so it will only work with pumps up to 12 volts, and most pumps in our hobby are actually 24 volts, so you do need to choose carefully. I'm using this 5 volt 70 quid TMC Nano powerhead, which is a copy of the same ZK-SJ powerhead that you can get for 50 quid. The setup is completely plug and play, so all you need to do is plug the powerhead into the battery backup instead of your wall socket, then plug the battery backup into the wall socket. And that is it. It really is that simple, and you don't need to mess around with any wiring or soldering irons. Now, this powerhead comes with a USB connector, but the battery backup also has more traditional power connectors. So for example, it will work with this 60 quid TMC Reef pump compact return pump. Now, the powerhead on its own is not very powerful at all, but it does create enough movement to add a little extra circulation. And for a 12-gallon softy tank like this, it's plenty when combined with the flow from the return pump. And if you're thinking the return pump I showed you looks familiar, it's because it's the ZK-SJ pump that Aqua Illumination are rebadging for their AI Axis line of return pumps. However, the AI Axis line uses larger versions of this pump, so those are all 24 volts, not 12 volts, which means the AI Axis won't work with this battery backup. If you use the TMC/ZK-SJ 500 litre per hour version though, it's plug and play just like the powerhead, so you set it up in the exact same way, i.e. you plug the Talent Cell into the wall socket, then the return pump into the Talent Cell. So that's the setup then, let's take a look at how it works. Now, in the event of a power cut, which I will simulate by turning the electricity off at the plug, the battery takes over instantly, and quite simply the powerhead keeps running using the battery power instead of the mains power. It'll keep going until the battery runs out, which will be long enough to outlast any power cut you are ever likely to have. Now, I tested the time it lasts, and it actually lasted way longer than I thought it would do. I stopped the clock at 24 hours, which is longer than any power cut I've ever experienced in my life, so this will be totally fine for almost everyone. And crucially, when the power comes back on, the battery automatically switches back to mains power for the powerhead and will start charging the battery again. Because this powerhead has a USB connection, I did try using a simple Anker mobile phone power bank instead of the Talent Cell. And while it did provide power when the mains goes out, it doesn't turn back on when the mains power comes back on, so it's useless for a Reef tank because it would kill your tank if the power went out while you were out of the house. And the reason that the Talent Cell unit works but the Anker doesn't is because the Talent Cell is designed specifically to function as a battery backup, and it's actually sold to most people as a battery backup for Wi-Fi routers, which incidentally is handy if, like me, you work from home with a laptop. And as a breezy bonus, the Talent Cell backup is super portable, so I have one that I use to mix salt water in parts of my house where there are no convenient plug sockets. In terms of lifespan, it should last between 3 to 5 years, which is the same as the quoted lifespan for the £200 Ecotech battery backup, which by the way is 3 times the size of the Talent Cell and 7 times heavier. And while this setup is best suited to a nano tank, I tested it on a 2-foot tank and it actually works totally fine. The powerhead is nowhere near strong enough for corals, so it can't function as a standalone wave maker in a tank this size like it can on my 12-gallon Nano, but if you just want a cheap small battery backup to provide water movement in the event of an emergency, it is totally adequate. In fact, I even tested it on my 4-foot by 2-foot tank, and while it's nowhere near as strong as I'd like, I dare say that it might even be good enough to keep your fish alive in the event of a power cut, even on a big tank like this. And if you don't have a battery backup option at all, and you're put off by the size, weight and price of the off-the-shelf options from reefing companies, the Talent Cell is a good option. The only other thing I need to tell you is that it's designed to sit flat, not on its end like this, and I wanted it to slot into slimmer spaces, so I made this 3D printed wall mountable bracket, which you can buy at my UK Etsy store, reefdog.etsy.com. Now, I think I've covered everything, but if you've got any questions, let me know in the comments section below, which is just past the like and subscribe buttons, and until next time, happy reefing.